Are you ready?
Pack is back, cause I'm mass destruction. Guess who's here? The bad boys of wrestling. Testing competition, win the war, that's their mission. Not no mercy, see the rings like the street. If you don't know, you better find out the wolf pack.
Woo! Greetings and salutations, and welcome to Nostalgia. Well, the Royal Rumble is officially in the books, so it's that time of the year again when I go from being a casual wrestling fan to a super fan. That period between the Royal Rumble and WrestleMania has me crazed every year. And it's been some time since we've done a wrestling video, so let's get into one. And we have got a great one. Top 10 favourite wrestling factions. Or stables. Do you say stables or factions? I say factions. I'll stick with factions. I love a great faction. And usually a stable, a faction will consist of a leader, usually a world champion, the mouthpiece, the muscle, and usually a young future of the company type guy. But as you'll see from this list, factions come in all shapes and sizes. So let's get into it. Remember, we do top 10 favourites here, not top 10 best. What are your favourites? Get in the comment section. Let's get into it. Top 10 favourite wrestling factions.
What?
And we are starting off with a group that no one else would have had in their top 10 favourites. And I'm not a TNA guy or an Impact guy. Is it even called Impact or TNA anymore? I truthfully haven't watched it in years. But when I heard that there was a faction in TNA with Sting, Kurt Angle, Booker T, Kevin Nash, and Scott Steiner, aka Big Papa Pump, aka the Big Booty Daddy, aka Freakzilla.
He's fat!
Sorry, I just love Scott Steiner so much. But yeah, when these guys got together, I had no choice but to tune in and watch TNA for the first time. And I'm so glad I did, because I got to see so many great wrestlers for the first time. The likes of AJ Styles, Samoa Joe, Beer Money, and so many other wrestlers I wouldn't have seen unless the Main Event Mafia turned me on to TNA. So just for the sheer star power, Main Event Mafia make it into my top 10. Okay, I know that this is a nostalgia-based channel, but I have got to give credit where it is due. The Bloodline are the best thing that WWE have done for over a decade. And it's not even close. It's hard to imagine now, but the fans were really tired of Roman Reigns. WrestleMania 31, 32, 33, they just got sick of him. And then COVID happened. And he stepped away, and he returned with this new badass attitude. And he was accompanied by, in my opinion, the greatest talker in wrestling history, Paul Heyman. And Roman built the Bloodline with the Usos and Solo, and for a while my lookalike Sami Zayn. And that Sami Zayn storyline is the best WWE storyline for a decade. Long live the Tribal Chief.
Acknowledge me!
I am not old enough to remember the Four Horsemen, but the Radicals, they were my version of the Four Horsemen. True ring masters. Benoit, Malenko, Saturn, and Latino Heat Eddie Guerrero. They crashed the WWE a full year before the invasion had even started. And I loved it. And they didn't waste time. These guys made an impact straight away. Malenko, light heavyweight champion. Eddie, he was European champion. Perry Saturn was an awesome hardcore champion. And people forget it, but Benoit was pushed huge when he first came in. He was main eventing and challenging for the title with the likes of Triple H and Kurt Angle, all within the first year. Do yourself a favour, go back and watch these guys in the late 90s. There was never a dull moment.
It's a new day, yes it is!
You really don't get too many good guy factions. In fact, I think New Day are the only face faction on this list. But everyone loves the New Day. With their power of positivity, they are 100% entertainment from the moment that music hits. However, it's not just how entertaining these guys are. Each one is a legit superstar, peaking with Kofi Mania at WrestleMania 35, one of my favourite WrestleMania moments. I cannot wait till Big E is back to full health and these guys get back to doing what they do better than anybody. Can you imagine New Day versus the Bloodline? Ooh.
We're here. He's got the whole world in his hand.
As I mentioned earlier, most factions start with an established star, usually a world champion, who builds a faction around them. I remember when the Wyatts first debuted, I knew nothing about Bray, Harper, Rowan, and that was great. They were so mysterious and creepy. They didn't want titles or money, they just wanted to hurt people and cause chaos. And it never stood still. The Bray Wyatt character would evolve with the Firefly Funhouse, the Fiend, Uncle Howdy. A true creative genius, Bray Wyatt, Wyndham Rotunda. With him and what Luke Harper did in AEW, now gone, it just leaves you wondering what they would have done in the future. It's so sad. Now, most people would not have the Nation this high, but bear with me. Now, the Nation of Domination is a great faction in its own right, but it's what the Attitude Era wouldn't have been without the Nation that has them ranked so high on my list. Every single member of the Nation, while in the Nation and after, formed the Attitude Era. Now, Farouk was a badass leader that later formed one of the greatest tag teams of all time, the APA with Bradshaw. Mark Henry, he was the muscle in the Nation. Then he went on to become Sexual Chocolate, got some of the biggest laughs in the Attitude Era with some of the stuff he was doing with Mae Young. Then later became a monster heel, becoming the ECW champion and destroying John Cena at one point. Kama Mustafa, he was the enforcer for NOD, and then he went on to become the Attitude Era icon that is the Godfather. Couldn't have been done any other time apart from the Attitude Era to have a character like the Godfather, but how cool was he? D'Lo Brown, arguably the most underrated wrestler of all time. He was Intercontinental and European champion at the same time, and this was at the height of the Attitude Era. And then of course we have The Rock, the icon. For those who say The Rock was born to be a star, go back and watch his first year in the WWF. The guy was a bust. He was a bust. A babyface called Rocky Maivia who was so cheesy. The fans booed him unmercilessly, even though he was the good guy. But then he joined the Nation of Domination, and then he captured the Intercontinental Championship. He started to challenge Farouk's authority, eventually causing a mutiny in the Nation. Go back on the network and watch The Rock from 1996 to 1998. You will literally see The Rock that we know and love become born in front of your eyes. And that would not have happened without the Nation of Domination.
Evolution is a mystery, full of changes no one sees. God makes a fool of history.
Now we are in business. Any one of the next four could have been number one on my list. Triple H is the king of being in factions. DX, the corporation, the authority, and of course, Evolution. In many ways, Evolution is the perfect faction. You had the wily old veteran, Ric Flair. You had the young Bunderkin, Randy Orton, the muscle in Batista, and the head of Evolution, the game, Triple H. I am just up to 2004-2005 on the network, and Evolution was so dominant. Tag team titles, Intercontinental, WWE World Heavyweight Championships. They had it all. And then
no chance, that's what you got.
okay, so I'm going to cheat here. I couldn't decide between the Corporation or the Ministry of Darkness, so I'm taking both. I'm taking the Corporate Ministry. Now, we talked earlier about The Rock. He was made by the Nation of Domination, but it was here, when he teamed up with Vince, when he joined the Corporation, that is when he became the icon. This is where he was headlining WrestleManias with Stone Cold. And speaking of Stone Cold, this was it. This was the period where the Corporation, that Austin versus McMahon, this was at its height. This was the Attitude Era. This was where it was taking off, and Attitude Era was taking over the world. And let's not forget about the Ministry of Darkness. Undertaker at his scariest. He was running around crucifying people and drinking people's bloods. It was just insane. Then Vince revealed he was the higher power, and two of the most dominant factions of all time combined to make the Corporate Ministry. To hell with it, let's just rattle off a few members, not even including the likes of Mideon and Viscera. You had Vince, Shane, Undertaker, Triple H, Chyna, The Acolytes, Ken Shamrock, The Rock, Big Show, Kane. All members of this faction at one point or another. That is mad. The power of the Corporate Ministry cannot be understated. Just iconics. DX, it was so nearly number one. And it doesn't matter which version of DX was your version. You could have been on the ground level like I was when it was Triple H, HBK, Chyna and Rick Rude. Whether you got into DX when it was the height of the Attitude Era, when you had X-Pac and the New Age Outlaws, or even in the 2000s when Shawn and Hunter got the band back together and they were just dropping shit on the Spirit Squad. All versions of DX are badass. Come on now, how many of us got detention for shouting "suck it" on school grounds? There is nothing that isn't cool about DX. They were so anti-authority. They had a kick-ass intro. I mean, the New Age Outlaws were a top tag team at the time when you had, what, Edge and Christian, the Acolytes, the Hardys. X-Pac, in my opinion, is still the greatest cruiserweight champion of all time. DX introduced us to Chyna, the most dominant female wrestler of all time, no question. HBK, Shawn Michaels, he established himself on the same level as greats like Hogan, Sammartino, Flair, and Savage. And Triple H, I remember when Triple H first debuted as Hunter Hearst Helmsley. He was a snooty blue blood. None of us saw his rise coming. And now he is arguably the most important person in wrestling. And it all began with DX. Shit, they even have Mike Tyson as a member at one point. And DX were nearly my favourite faction of all time, but not my favourites. You know what is coming.
The following announcement has been paid for by the New World Order.
Now, I was always a WWF guy. I grew up with the likes of Hulk Hogan, Ultimate Warrior, Macho Man Randy Savage. I had no interest in WCW. None whatsoever. And then the NWO happened. So growing up, we had Sky Sports. It was on our chip Skybox. We didn't have TNT that showed WCW, but my friend Sam did. So I would sleep over 2 nights a week, every week, for like 4 years straight. Until my mum got sick of me begging, and then we switched over to 9X. But for 4 years straight, I spent 2 nights a week at Sam's just to be able to watch WCW. I just had to see Hogan, Hall and Nash. Those 3 guys, they were a big reason I fell in love with wrestling as a kid. I mean, Hogan was my hero. Big Daddy Diesel was so overpowering when he was HBK's muscle. And Razor Ramon was just the coolest. And yeah, they went by different names in WCW, but it was them. That moment at Bash at the Beach when Hogan turned heel on Macho Man Randy Savage, it was epic and changed wrestling forever. I was down for it all. You want to end Goldberg's unbeaten streak with a taser? Great. Want to throw in X-Pac and Big Show? Why not? Want to have Eric Bischoff become their manager? Just awesome. God damn it. I was even loved it when they split up and they formed the Wolfpack with Luger and Sting. You can stick your Avengers Civil War up your ass. I want to see whether Disco Inferno is going to be rocking black and white or black and red. I could literally talk for hours about the NWO. We haven't even touched on their comeback in WWE and when Shawn Michaels joined them. The truth is, no faction has had the crossover success of the NWO, and no one ever will. It is just too sweet. But remember, we don't do top 10 bests or top 10 greatest around here. These are our favourites. Now tell us yours. Get in the comment section. Let us know the greatest, your favourite wrestling factions. We didn't even get a chance to talk about the likes of the Hart Foundation, the Brood, Right to Censor, and I know this video's gone a bit longer than most of the top 10s. I could literally talk ad nausea about wrestling, especially, you know, the golden era of Hogan and Macho Man and the Attitude Era. I could go on for hours about wrestling. So I'm going to put out some more wrestling content for you guys in time for WrestleMania weekend. That's only a couple of weeks away. So in the meantime, please guys, get involved with this community. Do you love wrestling? Let me know in the comment section. Like, share, subscribe, all of that jazz. And I'll see you guys WrestleMania weekend.
I mean, if you go one-on-one with another wrestler, you got a 50-50 chance of winning. But I'm a genetic freak, and I'm not normal.